Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. I've hosted quite a few of our webinars, and we love to see where our attendees are located. I see a few of you are already in the chat, but while we await a few more attendees to join, go ahead and insert in the chat where you're joining from. Just to allow everyone a chance to join in, we will officially get started in about 1 to 2 minutes. I see a few questions as well about the recording and a share of the slides. Both are available at the conclusion of today's webinar. I see Texas. I already see both West Coast and East Coast. I'll put mine here in the chat. I see a Fayetteville, Georgia. You're very close to me. All right. Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, right? Depending on where you are. Welcome to today's webinar hosted by the Accreditation Council for Medical Affairs. Again, thank you for joining us this afternoon. For those of you that are joining us for the very first time, welcome in. And for those of you who have joined us previously, welcome back. My name is Kiana Dixon. I am a pharmacist by background and the Associate Director of Educational Programs here at the ACMA. And we work extensively with experts in the pharmaceutical industry to provide professional development opportunities for you all, some tips and tricks, right? This afternoon, we are excited to share tips and tricks on navigating on how to set yourself up for success, specifically on LinkedIn. We are joined by Dr. Karina Kleeman. She's a co-founder of Collaboratory Career Hub, which is an online community for people interested in working specifically in biotech. She is also the founder and CEO of Recruitomics Consulting, which specializes in talent acquisition and talent strategy for startup biotechs as well. Dr. Kleeman, she will kick off our webinar today with those LinkedIn strategies for your profile and how to leverage certifications. And afterwards, I will come back to join you all to discuss ACMA certifications that are tailored to the pharmaceutical industry. As you see, we are also joined by Dr. Mai Thao, a graduate and mentor for one of our certifications. Mai is a BCMAS medical affairs professional with over 5 years of experience in the medical device industry. Just a bit more on her background. After obtaining her PhD in chemistry and her postdoc fellowship, she joined Medtronic, primarily providing medical information as a senior medical affairs specialist and later as a global principal medical science advisor. Mai is currently at Coloplast, driving their clinical evidence strategy, so across the paradigm here for pharma. We are all in for a treat as I have the chance to interview Mai on her journey in medical affairs this afternoon. So, as the webinar progresses, if you have any questions for the speakers, for myself, please leave them in the comment section as you have them, and we will address and answer those all at the end of today's webinar. Okay. Now, with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to Karina to go ahead and give you those gems on crafting your profile for networking.
Thanks so much. I'm really happy to be here, and I love talking about LinkedIn. So hopefully I can give you a bit of a background on how you can leverage your network and your certifications, your degrees a little bit better. So first of all, who am I? Thank you so much for the great introduction. I don't actually need to give that now. But I will say that I, at one point, was a job seeker. So when I was finishing up my PhD in biochemistry, I briefly entertained going into biotech. And as I was interviewing, I realized it was really hard. It's really hard to get a good job in biotech. And it's even harder today. I mean, we're experiencing a really poor market. So I know you're feeling that. And that may be one reason you're pursuing new certifications, leveling up, and that is amazing. So I'm going to talk to you about how to do that a little bit more effectively. And so without further ado, I need to rush through this, but I want to tell you that I have this presentation as an hour-long deep dive that's totally on demand at collaboratorycareerhub.com. If you want that, I will, I'm sure we can get a link to you for that. So I'm going to race through this. I'm going to give you a real top level, and I'm going to insert how to get those certifications onto your profile so they're searchable, you're more findable, and recruiters are reaching out to you. So, first of all, LinkedIn, make no mistake, LinkedIn is social media. So it is not a normal social media platform. You're not going to be sharing pictures of your kids, your dogs, things like that, like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. This is more of a little bit of a business flavored social media, but it is social. So you're going to be doing several things on the platform, but maybe not in the order you are thinking. So the first thing you need to think about using LinkedIn for is networking. Most job seekers, especially in our space, are really only on LinkedIn during a job search. But people who are very savvy about the long game of their career know that LinkedIn is actually central to creating a career they love. And there's a saying that I really hate, but it does hold a kernel of truth, which is that your network is your net worth. Now, I don't really believe that, and you shouldn't either. You are intrinsically valuable. Your experiences, your education, all of that is very valuable, whether or not the wide world knows about it. But there's another saying that if a tree falls in the forest and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound? Well, of course it does. But if that tree is a metaphor for your sudden need for a new job and you've not built a network of people who will hear you, you don't have a strong position to ask for help. So, the next thing that ties into networking on this platform is personal branding. And here's where this is a little bit it's uncomfortable, especially for scientists. I know I was very resistant to personal branding when I first got started. It feels weird. It feels like you have to be really out there on social media, and it has a negative connotation, especially amongst introverts. And I'd love to be a little interactive here. Put a one in the chat if you identify as an introvert, which means that social interactions wear you out. You may like them, but they are exhausting to you. And put a two in the chat if you identify as more of an extrovert. So you are somebody who enjoys being out networking and you actually get energy from those interactions. I see a lot of ones. Yeah, it's pretty typical when I give these seminars. Me too. Definitely an introvert. I love people, but I find it exhausting. And therefore, there's a little bit more of a barrier to activation. Like an activation energy is more challenging for us introverts. But the good news is that both introverts and extroverts can find a lot of value on LinkedIn. And once you get a little momentum, you're going to see it's very introvert friendly. So whether you are an introvert or an extrovert, you will be able to leverage the platform very well. The third thing that we use LinkedIn for is really as an extension of our resumes. But I want you to be very clear on this point. LinkedIn is not your resume. It is supporting evidence for your resume, and it allows you to show some extra personality that your resume definitely should not have. So, recent statistics show that 87% of recruiters are going to visit your LinkedIn profile, even if you apply through the website with a resume. So when someone clicks through from your resume, which you should definitely hyperlink directly to your LinkedIn profile, they should not be surprised. They should see similarities from your resume plus a little bit more. And we'll go into that shortly, what that little bit more looks like. And the last use case for LinkedIn, but maybe the reason you're here today, is for finding jobs. So, like I said before, many people in the biotech space are more inclined to use LinkedIn just when they need a job. But if you're playing the long game, you're going to have a better network to go forward with. So, I'm going to tell you a little bit about how to use this for finding jobs right now, so that if you are in the midst of that, you can actually gain some value right now. But know that everything I'm teaching today, if you use it together and you continually use the methods I teach, you are going to have a much easier time finding a job next time you need one. All right. So, with that, first of all, I would like all of you after this to connect with me on LinkedIn. I will gladly connect with anyone in the industry, and I have a lot of connections. And the beauty of that is if you connect with me, all of my connections become your secondary connections instantly. So, that will mean that the platform is going to open up for you. You're going to see so much more in your feed. You're going to be served up more opportunities, more people to connect with, and LinkedIn is going to view you as a little bit more connected just because you're connected with me. So do that after this. If you can, send me a little note. I'll teach you how to do that in a minute, just to tell me you were here today and you'd love to connect with me. Okay, second, put a yes or a no in the chat. Do you currently connect with 10 to 20 new people every single day on the platform? Meaning, do you send out requests or connect or accept requests that are incoming of about 10 to 20 new people daily? If you say yes to this, you are in the 1% of the 1%. Almost nobody does this. But if you do, excellent. Good job. If not, I want to convince you this is now part of your job. This is just part of being in biotech. It is your career. Yeah, lots of no's in the chat. That's okay. I'm going to teach you how. All right. Yes or no in the chat here. Do you follow companies that interest you daily? This is how you train LinkedIn, how to serve up what you want in terms of companies and job opportunities and people that are going to interest you. Again, most people don't. I'm going to teach you how. It's really quite simple, but LinkedIn has an algorithm that is built specifically to keep you on the platform longer. They know that if you are interested in what they're giving you, what's in your feed, you're going to stay longer. You're going to interact and engage with people who are in your network, who are outside your network, with jobs in your network, with companies, and they're going to make more revenue as a result. LinkedIn is not a charity. They've built this platform to be quite profitable, and the business mandate is to keep you on the platform longer. So you then, knowing that, get to leverage that network, leverage your the algorithm to your advantage. So what I'm going to teach you to do is going to continually train the algorithm so that you will see more of what you want to see, so that when you log in, it's really curated just for you. All right. And finally, are you sending connection requests to the right people? This is rhetorical. I'm going to tell you who those people are. So most people think that they should be connecting with very high level people in companies, especially if they want jobs. So let's say you see a company with a job posted and you think, oh, great, I'm going to go link in with the VP of XYZ or the CEO. That person is not going to be as valuable to you in your network as the peer group would be. And so you are in this chat here surrounded by peers, which is an amazing networking opportunity. I'm just going to say it would be worth your while to perhaps, as time goes on, maybe drop your LinkedIn handle here and connect with each other. These peers, so people who are at about the same level as you, this would be titles that you're seeking, maybe a title above or two and a title below or two. Those people are going to be in the industry along with you for their entire careers. So they're going to be the people that you would reach out to ask, well, how do you like working in that company? What's that job like? How do you like that area? They're going to be the people who are going to help you by telling you about jobs that are coming up in their groups. Those are the people you want to build your network with. That is the bulk of your network. So don't think I'm going to link in with the highest level person at the company. Think, who would I work with? Who would I rub elbows with every day? Who would I be in the lab with, in the office with? Those are the folks that you want to link in with. And here's how. So we're gonna script out a few ways to connect with people. So I recommend a very simple framework for how to start a conversation with somebody. And just you can't send a message to every single person you want to link in with on LinkedIn because of the way that they limit your ability to do that. So if you have a paid account, you get to send more LinkedIn notes with your connection requests. If you don't have a paid account, I think they limit it to about 20 a month. So pick wisely, choose wisely. But if you can send a note, here's what you want to say. So let's say you've identified you like a job at Biogen, okay? And you found this person at Biogen, and we'll just call her Jennifer. Here's what to say. Hey, Jennifer, we share a few mutual connections, and I'd love to add you to my network. I follow Biogen. Seems like a really great place to work. How do you like being a scientist there? So there's an anatomy here, and I'm going to break it down for you. First of all, the very most important thing is the name. Names are very powerful. So if you can say somebody's name, that's going to catch their attention, whether they're on the platform or whether this is served to them in their emails, which a lot of people do have these messages shuffled over to their emails. So say the name. Next, you're going to give a flimsy reason. There's a lot of research about asking for something. And if you give somebody a reason you're asking, even if it's a flimsy one, they're more likely to say yes. So we share a few mutual connections, and I'd love to add you to my network. Kind of a cheesy reason, but it works, trust me. Next, I follow Biogen, and it seems like a really great place to work. This is a compliment. Now, it's not an overt compliment. You're not saying, hey, I like your hair or anything like that. You're saying, I like your choice. I like your choice. You made a good choice. Biogen seems like a good choice. I think that. I support that. That is a powerful compliment. It's very subtle. It is complimenting their life choice, and it is going to endear you to them. And the next thing is an open-ended question. And this is important. If you don't give them anything to respond to, Why would they respond? So you want to ask them something open-ended. Okay, here's another example. Hey, Preeti, I just learned about the really cool work that Takeda is doing in the metabolic disease space. I'd love to connect so your updates come to my feed. How do you like working in Cambridge? Same thing. I switched the order a little bit, name still. Then I gave the compliment next. Then I gave my reason. And then I asked the open ended question. So, this is the anatomy of asking to connect with somebody. It's very simple, and often it spurs a small back and forth. Now, during that back and forth, you do not want to go right in and ask for a job. So keep that in mind. Come into my Slack community and ask me a little bit more about how to keep that conversation going if you're interested in that. So the next thing I want to talk to you about is tactical, what to do on your profile. Before you do anything else, you're going to want to go and put your profile in creator mode. Now, I'm going to fly through this piece. This is important, and I go into this in great detail in my seminar on LinkedIn. So I would encourage you to go watch that full seminar if you want to learn a little bit more about this. But creator mode is going to allow you to access your analytics. When you can see your analytics, you can track what is working. So it's on your profile. You can scroll down until you find this and click on it. I have, like I said, a more in-depth tutorial about that. But this is key so that you can track what's working. But it also gives you access to the ability to put hashtags at the top of your profile, which give people a broad overview of what you care about. And this is important. It also gives you the ability to put a link. And this link can be to a personal website. It could be to your ResearchGate. It could be to your PubMed. This is a really powerful link to have. For me, I am driving traffic to my profile to do business development for Recruitomics. So mine is book a strategy call, but yours could be something totally different. All right. I want to talk to you about the top of your profile. This is where the magic happens. This is the most important real estate anywhere on LinkedIn. This is the first impression people get when they click into your profile. This is what recruiters see on the back end of LinkedIn Recruiter. And again, in my longer version of this talk, I actually take you behind the scenes of LinkedIn Recruiter to show you what profiles look like on our side, which is really valuable to know what you should be doing when you're crafting your profile. So you can change the top of your profile here. This is your sort of banner image, and you can change that. I use Canva, and we have a very simple template that you can use in Canva to make this your own. But I recommend doing something that is shows your personality a little bit. Mine is I've got a sciencey thing here. I've got a little DNA strand, and then I consider myself a networker, a connection maker. So I've got sort of this image of a network. So that's my personal preference here. I also have a quote by Albert Einstein, which I just love. And I have my value proposition, just a couple of things that I feel like I want people to know about me. And that's it. So it's eye-catching. It is not the standard LinkedIn stuff, and you can make it your own, which is really great. The next thing is your profile picture. I cannot tell you how important this is. This is so, so key. So there's a lot of neurological research about social media and how to make connections on social media. As uncomfortable as it may be, the best performing profile pictures are mostly of your face, looking straight into the camera and smiling. People love to connect, and they feel like they're connecting with you if you are looking at them and smiling. So I encourage you to do this. It is a little bit scary, I admit. I used to have a faraway picture of me working in a lab. That just does not have the impact that you want it to have on LinkedIn. Also in Canva, I was able to background remove on this picture and put in a background that I actually just grabbed with like one of those little dropper tools, the color from this picture here, so it matches. And then I put this little halo effect on. I think that's a Canva premium thing, but you can get a free 30-day trial of Canva premium, and you can get all this spiffed up within, honestly, a couple of hours. So it's definitely worth it. And this just really pops around the platform. I don't have a lot of time to show you how that pops around the platform, but what I can tell you is that as you're liking and commenting, which is the next step in this networking thing, actually, I will make time to do that. I think I have 2 minutes to do that. So the next thing to talk about is your name. Your name should be, use the first name box in LinkedIn to put only your first name. Don't put doctor in front of it. Don't put anything else except just your first name. And this is because there's a lot of automations on the platform that recruiters use that autofill names. And if you put other things in there, it actually makes us very uncomfortable because we know it's automated. We can't do anything about it. It just happens. So do us a favor. I know recruiters who will not reach out to a candidate if there's anything but the first name in the first name box. Behind your name, That's where you get to put all your letters, and we're gonna go into that in a minute too. I'm gonna show you how to leverage those certifications behind your name as well. I just have a PhD, so that's where I put mine, but that's where you can put all the great letters behind your name, and that does not affect any of the outreach that we do. And then the last thing in this very valuable section of real estate is going to be your headline. This is not your job title, okay? This is not your job title. This is a weird value proposition. You want to make this a little bit clickbait. Mine is empowering biotech growth. This is going to show up in the next slide around the platform, and I'm going to show you how. And notice I have a little bit of a different font there. I go into that in detail in my hour-long workshop about this. Okay, so here is an example of me interacting around the platform, and I'm just going to take a minute because I think this is really important. So you can see that I have put a comment here, and this person got a new job, so I'm going to celebrate with them. And you can see here's my comment. Just scrolling down, defocus your eyes and just look at the other profile pictures there. Most of them don't have a lot of color. Many are far away. We've got some people working in a lab. And then when you get up to mine has that little pop of color. It has my empowering biotech growth in a different font. That's my headline there. And notice that I have mentioned the person and the company that they just got a job with because that pops on the platform. It also serves up my post to people in their network and people who follow Verve Therapeutics. So I have made a kind of a splash with this. I have been able to syndicate this post into the candidate's network or this person's network and into the company's network. And my post catches more eyes because of the way it stands out. So that is why it's important to have that profile picture kind of spiffy and something a little bit interesting as your headline. Okay, I have a lot more on that in a minute, actually in my longer seminar. Okay, here is a non-biotech example of just a fantastic profile. This is my friend Caitlin. She's obviously a marketer. You can't miss that, right? There's a lot of color here. She gets away with a great yellow in her profile picture. Her headline is the customer whisperer, which is really interesting. And you just know what she does. You know exactly what she does. And she's going to attract the people she wants to attract. And if you're not looking for a marketer, she's going to repel those people. And that is okay because she doesn't need to talk to people who aren't looking for a marketer. All right, so I want to go into where you're going to leverage these certifications. I want you to do as many of the following things as possible. And I've already shown you a lot of the places in the profile, but I haven't had a chance to go into some of the spots on your profile, like your About section, but I'm going to tell you about those now. So when you have a new certification, you're going to, first of all, want to put it behind your name, like I just said. So this is a fantastic profile I just found. I actually found this by going in LinkedIn Recruiter and just searching for people with a BCMAS certification. And this was one of the top profiles that came up because this individual put that in a number of different places in their profile, and it was prominently in their name. That's why it's really, really powerful to put it there. Okay, so that's the obvious place to put it. Well, where else can you put it? Oh, I have one more example of this. Here we go. Another great profile here. A lot of great certifications, RN, BSN. So this is a really strong way to leverage your degrees and your certifications so that they're prominent without affecting that first name spot. Okay. You can also leverage it in your About section. Now, I was not able to find a single example of anyone who did this. So I had to put my own About section, which is not as compelling. The About section, though, you have a unique opportunity here to make people want to click on it. So make it a little bit weird. Don't put a block of text here. Nobody wants to read that. We live in a TikTok era. Make it short and snappy and sweet. And so here within your About section, make sure you mention your certification. Why wouldn't you? So that's another place that it's going to show up in the algorithm. And the more times you mention it, the higher in the search results you will show up in LinkedIn Recruiter. So you might as well put it in here. And while you're at it, use some interesting fonts, use good white space, short bullet points, make this About section really skimmable, really readable. I talk a lot more about that in my full-length seminar. Your experience section. Here's another place you can put it. And I couldn't find anybody who put that they got their BCMAS or anything else in their experience section. But what a great opportunity. Let's say, for instance, you were working for a company and during that time you earned a certification. It would be great to put it in as a bullet point. that that's something that you accomplished during your tenure with that company. If you do it between jobs, that's a great placeholder. So if you people talk a lot about worrying about gaps in their experience. Well, if you used a gap in your employment to further your education, that's a fantastic thing to put down. So again, I couldn't find an example of anyone who had done that. But if I had, that would have been something I put up here, obviously. But if I had, that would have also shown up higher in the search results in LinkedIn Recruiter. All right. And obviously, your licenses. I was able to find that, thank goodness. So there is a section on LinkedIn. Sometimes it's hidden. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom of your profile, you can find a place that says add more sections. Sometimes it's not at the bottom. Honestly, LinkedIn changes all the time. Somewhere on your profile, you'll be able to find a place that says add more sections if you don't have the option. One of those sections is licenses and certifications. Again, almost nobody did this. I almost never found this. I found a couple of people who'd done it. Obviously, I found this one example to put up here for you. But this is gold. This is definitely something that you want to do, and you're missing the opportunity if not. And the last thing you can do is join groups. There are actually groups on LinkedIn for most of the certifications that are offered. So join the group. Even if you're not active in the group, that shows up as a keyword on your profile. And a lot of the time, recruiters can search by groups. So let's say I had a client that said it would be great if I had a medical affairs, someone who is a board certified medical affairs professional. Okay, well, what are all the ways I could search for that? I could search by keyword. I could search within their certifications. I can also search for groups and look at everyone in a group that was associated with that. So if you had done all of these things, first of all, you would have shown up first in my search for the certification. And also, you're going to be showing up in people's profile, in people's home pages, their home feeds, who are in these sorts of groups that are following these keywords and hashtags that are looking for people like you. So I hope that that was really helpful. I know this was short. It was snappy. I wanted to get a lot of value in 20 minutes. And I really encourage you, if you're interested in going deeper on LinkedIn, to check out my full length webinar on this, where I go through each of these things in more detail and take you behind the scenes of LinkedIn Recruiter. But for now, I'm going to turn it back over to Kiana to discuss some of the ACMA certification offerings that I hinted at during this presentation. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Karina. I really got a lot of great insights. It looks like we have a lot of great insights in the comments as well. And I promise we'll get to some of your questions that came in after the second portion here in this webinar. But I'm excited to now follow up on those valuable tips that you just learned about optimizing your LinkedIn profile, right? How to use your certifications. And so today in this portion of the webinar, I'll be focusing specifically on how certifications from the ACMA can elevate your profile, right? How to unlock new career opportunities within the pharmaceutical industry. Right. So again, in this half of the webinar, we'll cover all of our recognized certifications, right, that are tailored for different career stages in specialty areas. We'll also discuss how our programs can enhance your LinkedIn profile, right? What value and benefits that they bring. And then we'll go into a real world example of how professionals have used our certifications to advance their careers, right, and expertise when we interview Dr. Mai Tao. Okay. Now, the Accreditation Council for Medical Affairs, we support the life sciences in two ways. Okay? We provide accredited certification and training programs, and we also offer AI-enabled digital solutions. In both of these solutions and services that we offer, we work with medical affairs, pharma sales teams, and over 200 pharma companies. Right? We know our educational programs work. We know that our programs make our professionals more productive and have built their new professionalism, right, when it comes to their development. But in this webinar, we will focus here on our accredited certification and training programs. Before we dive into our programs specifically, I want to highlight the trust and value that's associated with them. Right? ACMA, we are proudly accredited by IASET. These are the international accreditors for continuing education and training, and they ensure that our programs always meet rigorous quality standards. Okay, this rigorous accreditation aligns us with other esteemed organizations like these here that you see, the American Heart Association, the Joint Commission, and even NASA. Some of our programs that we will go over today also offer continuing education credits or CE credits, specifically catered to pharmacists and physicians, right, for their license requirements. But accreditation and credits, they're just one piece of the puzzle, okay? We believe in effective learning for our educational programs, and that's why we use proven pedagogical techniques in the design and the delivery of our e-learning modules, right? When you're investing here in one of our ACMA programs, it's not just into a credential, right? You're investing in reliable knowledge, right? Proven learning methods, and also a chance to elevate your career all in one. Okay. Now let's explore our certifications and see how they can empower your professional journey. So here are the certifications that we will cover today. The first being the BCMS program here. This is the Board Certified Medical Affairs Specialist program. This is the first and only accredited board certification specifically for medical affairs and MSL professionals in the industry. Okay. Next, we will discuss the PACS program. This is the Prior Authorization Certified Specialist program, which is also the first and only accredited certification program tailored specifically for prior auth. Many field reimbursement and market access professionals in pharma enroll in this program, but we also see several hospital and healthcare systems that have enrolled here into the PACS program as well. We will then dive into two sales rep programs that we have. The PRC program is a comprehensive program to prepare pharma sales reps for success. It's used, for example, in the city of Chicago, where pharmaceutical reps are required to be credentialed. We'll also go over our second sales rep program, the CSPP program, that is for experienced representatives who are looking for that leg up in knowledge and skills, right, when it comes to specialty medications. Okay. But no worries, we'll go into each certification very briefly here on this webinar. First up is that BCMS program. This is a board certified medical affairs specialist program. This program was designed to show your expertise of the industry to healthcare providers and KOLs, right? Help yourself become best in class when it comes to medical affairs. So let's take a look at each of these columns here. Under the Format tab, you will actually notice that as we go through each program today, this format is the same across all of our programs, okay? All of our programs are completely self-paced and online, which gives you a lot of flexibility, right? You can access the learning program whenever you like. So if you're a night owl and you love to work in the evening, you have that possibility, right? You can also access the program wherever you like as well. You see the phone here on the screen. That's because our program can also be accessed from your phone or your tablet if desktop is ever unavailable. If you are already in the field team of medical affairs as an MSL, this flexibility allows you to learn on the go, right? The navigation system in the app is great, and it was developed to be very simple to use. And again, that's across all of our programs. The BCMS program here was aimed at really anyone involved in medical affairs, right? From medical directors to medical information specialists, because it reviews the different functions within a pharmaceutical company, right? Medical information, pharmacovigilance. This ensures that, for example, you are able to successfully work cross-functionally, right, with other teams outside of your core group. Now let's take a look at the BCMS curriculum. This program is comprised of 20 interactive modules, and all modules include videos, audio clips, interactive activities, right? Our content won an award from IASET specifically for this program, but again, we applied those adult learning principles and made our content interactive to help you further retain that knowledge, to solidify your learning. As a learner in our program, you also have access to a lot of great resources. Each of our modules, they come with knowledge checks as well as a pre and a post quiz. When you enroll into BCMS, you also enroll into access to our case studies, so where you can actually apply the content to real life examples. And at the end, there is that final assessment that credentials you as a board certified medical affairs specialist. If you are here on the webinar today and you are interested in medical affairs, the BCMS program focuses on 4 key areas here to supply your expertise as a medical affairs specialist. Okay. The first being technical competencies. This is understanding clinical trials, how to design, how to interpret, as well as analyze them. It covers in-depth key areas such as biostatistics, right, and clinical development here under that technical competencies tab. Life sciences understanding. This is understanding all areas of the life sciences. Okay. When we think of pharma, traditionally you think of medications, right? Your traditional medications. But in life sciences understanding, this is a composition of pharma, the traditional pharma, diagnostics, as well as medical devices. Okay. You really want to train as a broadly trained professional with in-depth expertise, no matter where you are in pharma. Regulatory and compliance with BCMS, this isn't just your standard compliance training. It really comes at it from a medical affairs perspective where we review regulations that are tailored to the region in which you are located. Okay. We actually have international versions of BCMS that discusses the international regulations that are pertinent to your region and where you live or where you practice. And then finally, soft skills, business acumen skills. This is very important to succeed in medical affairs. And so we cover important areas like how to effectively present to different stakeholders, right? We discuss how to present PowerPoint presentations, how to build effective plans, right? How to tailor engagement styles, all of these skill sets that you should have and to use to succeed as a medical affairs professional. Again, it's all about excellence here in medical affairs. So with the ACMA, because we are providing this accredited board certification, you are able to add BCMAS and those letters as a credential after your last name. Okay. This is very important on LinkedIn, so where you can add that to your name and your title so that others can see from the outside looking in that you are an expert within medical affairs. Next up, we now will discuss and review the PACS program. Okay. This is the Prior Authorization Certified Specialist program. And again, this is the official certification for healthcare life science professionals dealing specifically with prior auth. The format of the PACS program, again, is very same as BCMS. It is all online, so it is completely self-paced. There are no lectures you have to attend or watch here for the PACS program. You navigate the program at your own pace. This program is aimed at really anyone involved in the prior authorization process. So reimbursement managers or those that are in market or patient access in pharma, but also those that are in direct patient care. We see physicians, nurses, pharmacists as well, all players within this prior authorization process who enroll into the PACS program and eventually become credentialed. Now, taking a look at the curriculum of the PACS program. This program is comprised of 12 e-modules, again, each with knowledge checks, as well as pre and post quizzes. Enrollment into the PACS program also includes a toolkit to where you can find templates and quick summaries of the PACS modules here. And at the end, similar to BCMS, in order to become certified as PACS, there is a final assessment at the end that you should pass in order to become credentialed. The PACS program focuses on these key areas here surrounding the best practice recommendations for prior authorizations. The first, technical competencies. Technical competencies in the managed care space is really understanding the components of a prior authorization, understanding those fundamentals behind them, understanding insurance policies and payments. Clinical understanding. This is understanding the supporting documents and resources that are available to you throughout the process. Regulatory and compliance for PACS is different than the regulatory and compliance for our last program for medical affairs. This really comes at it from a reimbursement perspective. So understanding HCP compliance standards like HIPAA and fraud, but also those specific prior auth skills, like playing in the confines of HCPCS CPT codes as well. Minimizing denials is really knowing what payers want, right? How to play with the confines of their policies, how to address the appeals process when it comes to prior authorizations as well. Similar to BCMAS, at the conclusion and the completion of the program and that final exam, we are also able to provide the PACS designation as a credential that you can then add after your last name to add on your business cards, to add on your LinkedIn profile. Right. Again, showing from the outside looking in that you're an expert in this area of prior authorizations and reimbursement. Moving forward to our sales rep programs, our first one is the Pharmaceutical Representative Certification Program, or PRC. The format here is the same as our other programs, but the target audience changes. Our target audience here for sales rep follows the background for sales reps in the pharmaceutical industry. Those who have some type of communication background in their undergrad experience, allied health providers, right? Whether you are new to pharma sales and you came from another industry of selling, this program is also accurate for you. Taking a look here at this curriculum for PRC, this program is comprised of 15 modules. It also includes knowledge checks. It also includes a pre and post quiz, as well as that final assessment at the end. PRC was designed to equip you with the crucial knowledge, the skills that are needed to excel in the pharma industry as a sales rep, right? So grasping the fundamentals of key therapeutic categories or therapeutic areas to allow you to confidently engage healthcare professionals. Here you'll learn how to interpret, how to communicate the significance of clinical trials and evidence-based medicine. So you can also learn the different types of customers that you will call on, right? You'll learn those different strategies on how to maximize the conversation and maximize the time that you have with your stakeholders and their staff. So you'll ultimately lead to skills that help you to navigate complex conversations, how to demonstrate your expertise, but also build trust, right, for your customers. Our next sales rep program that we have is the Certified Specialty Pharma Professional Program, or CSPP. The format here is the same as the last sales rep program. It has the same target audience here as the PRC program, but this is more for experienced sales reps. They already have a little experience under their belt, and they are looking for additional knowledge and expertise, specifically in specialty pharma. And so we have some additional modules here in CSPP, and this program is 18 e-modules. Here's an outline of those 18 modules in the CSPP program. The content here goes over the pharmaceutical industry, all of its components within it. It also reviews all of the moving factors in pharma, right, across the drug's life cycle, spanning from clinical development to market access. You also have modules here to build your skill set for how to sell effectively, how to understand the customers and the types of calls that you make as a pharmaceutical sales rep. We also have a few modules here, again, to enhance that deep understanding of specialty products within pharma. Again, I briefly scanned through our major certifications that we have to offer, but we also have data to show that our learning approach works well. Okay, we have seen statistically significant increases in knowledge domain of at least 80% and upwards across all of our programs here. Now, this webinar is how to leverage your certification. And once you become certified with an ACMA program, what's next? Okay. In this webinar, we've discussed how to showcase your new title, again, to show the outside that you are an expert in one of your fields within the pharmaceutical industry. Doing this expands your career options, and also becoming certified also expands your community, your network, right? Your social media groups within LinkedIn. Within ACMA, we have plenty of mentors that are available as a resource. And you can speak with a mentor that can tell you their journey and their tips and tricks on how to utilize your certification for your own success. And that leads us to the next portion of this webinar, right? In this webinar, we have Mai who completed the BCMS program, and she is also one of our ACMA mentors. So I'll stop sharing my screen just so that we can follow our interview here with Mai and ask her a few questions. Hi, Mai. Welcome in.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for having me here. I'm very excited to share my career journey, especially after I completed the program.
Yes, of course. Now, before we get into BCMS program and your experience in it, can you first tell us just a little bit about your professional background before enrolling into the program?
Yes, you mentioned at the beginning of the hour that I, really started my career being a PhD and trained as a chemist. So think of your lab, and I was a bench chemist. And when I started at Medtronic, I wanted to do more, and that's really because right before I started at Medtronic, I started a company for wheelchair users. And that really allowed me to see how I can use scientific knowledge and apply it to elevate patient care. And so then when I made the transition to Medtronic, I wanted to still be curious and be intellectually challenged. That led me into medical affairs, where I'm able to do that aside from the bench. And so from there, I, did really well under my leadership and also my manager, who was very, very supportive, Liz. And then, we're like, hey, how do you want to grow? And I didn't know at that time how I wanted to grow. Liz was very adamant in terms of like, how do you want to grow? Because you can't just keep doing this forever. And I want to support you. So then I looked into different programs and I landed on this one because I do recognize the ACMA from my days in American Heart Association. But not only that, they had a program that has a dedicated section in medical device, which is really unique across the board of certification. And so, yes, I took it upon myself, presented to Liz, and the rest is history.
Awesome. Now, from your perspective, you mentioned that BCMS stood out to you because it covered the medical device industry and you were in that industry.
Yes.
What was your ultimate goal for becoming certified? Was it to advance your current role? Was it just to learn more?
Initially it was to grow, right? But I didn't know at what direction. What I found after I got certified was it facilitated my conversation with Liz in terms of mapping out that career and how that would look like. And it's really funny because I moved on and I got promoted to a global medical science advisor. And there I was reporting into a director. And I went back to the map and I pulled it out. And, again, the program really helped facilitate that conversation with the director, Renata, at that time. And then not only that, but it also helped me grow cross-functionally. I think in medical affairs, maybe it's not unique to Medtronic, but they really value cross-functional partnerships. And so even talking to my marketing partner, they were able to understand what I bring to the table, and then supported me in that way as well.
Awesome. So it has a huge impact, sounds like, in your day-to-day, as well as your conversations with other teams in your higher ups.
Absolutely.
Now, thinking of the program and your process when completing the program itself, what specific aspects of the program did you find most valuable to your learning?
I really enjoy the modules. So I know you touched a little bit upon it, but it really gave me kind of a deep dive into the different sectors, right? So it even talked about manufacturing, how that looks like, and then the different pillars, what I call pillars or arms of medical affairs. So I touched into medical information, How does an advisory board look like? How does a medical science liaison look like? And then it touched upon all the different cross-functional partners that you may come across in your career in being in medical affairs, such as medical safety, pharmacovigilance is another one. And so because of that, I had a better understanding and appreciation for their role. But at the same time, it also accelerated my partnership with them because now I have a baseline knowledge of how they work, their lingo, their jargon, their language, and also their perspective.
So now, for everyone here on the call, would you recommend this program to others that are either considering a career move into pharma or wanting to advance their current position?
Yes, I would highly recommend it for a couple of reasons. One, again, just based on my experience, I was able to articulate what I want out of my career in medical affairs in this program and the modules and the broad sense, but yet detailed arms of medical affairs allow me to have that conversation. And then two, it's always good to grow in a way and differentiate yourself from other professionals as well. And I thought that this was a great way to do that. And then it opened up your network even wider than, at least for me, than I can imagine.
Awesome. Now that you've gone through the program, you're one of our mentors. You speak with some of our BCMS professionals. What advice would you give to someone considering enrolling into the program?
My advice is challenge yourself with this program because you're going to have to dust off those academic skills of testing and, taking out your learning hat and doing it.
Yes, I agree. Everyone asks, or I get a question often on how can you stand out or how can I get into medical affairs? The answer that I usually give is make yourself an expert, right? You have to put in that work. You have to take into that initiative and building yourself into what you foresee, right? What you see in your goal.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And then on top of it, you took the initiative, right? This is one of these resources that's available to everyone, but you took the initiative to take the exam and study for it.
Right. Now I see we're cutting it kind of close to our close of webinar time. So if we want to bring back Karina, I see that we have a few questions in the chat. All right, the first one, I think this one's for you, Karina. Should your master resume be on LinkedIn since you personalize each for the specific position?
I have never once downloaded a resume from LinkedIn and then used it for any purposes. I would say if you put a resume up there, the one thing it does is it flags it in the back end for us. We can see people who have put resumes onto LinkedIn recently, and that flags as someone who's quite active on LinkedIn. So if you do a master resume, we have a resume template right on the homepage of collaboratorycareerhub.com. I would recommend grabbing that version. It's a very simple resume and doing a master resume, but then, you're going to want to tailor it for each of the jobs that you're applying for. It's a non-answer, but it's not going to hurt you. It's not going to help you either. Maybe it could possibly help you.
So I'm a total novice here, and I really suck at being subtle and having tact. So trying not to be blunt here, but what's the point of LinkedIn networks, especially if you have a lot of connections? Is quality not better than quantity? Wouldn't it be better to have organic connections in person? Just asking if one is better than the other.
Why not do both? You have the ability to do both. So leverage your great personal network, which means, building deep connections with people through programs that you're doing, through your work, through your community. And then we live in an age where you have the ability to network with such a wider audience, and jobs now are a lot more decentralized. A lot of the jobs too that these certifications set you up for are not, you don't necessarily need to be in person, right? A lot of these can be done hybrid or remote, which means you might never meet these individuals if they're living on the other side of the country if you don't rely on using LinkedIn. So I would say do both. Why not?
How fast can you complete the PACS program? It's really up to you, right? It's self-paced, but there are 14 to 16 hours of content. How you navigate through those 14 to 16 hours is completely up to you. If you can knock that out in a weekend, great, right? You have that flexibility. But oftentimes we see our enrollees, they also have full-time roles. And so we actually offer you 6 months of access. If you enroll into our program online, you have 6 months to complete those 16 hours. Are there any fellowships for the BCMS certification for students? We do. ACMA has a fellowship program itself. There's more information on our website about it. But for the BCMS program, if you are speaking on the more traditional fellowship for pharmacy students, the answer is no. Interested in the BCMS program? How can we get started? On our webpage. Our website is medicalaffairsspecialist.org. All of our information there is on BCMS. After the webinar is over, you should receive an email to the email address that you registered for the webinar, and it has our information, our contact info in there. In an ever-changing world, how often are these updated? I'm assuming this is our program, a question about our programs. Our programs are updated quarterly because of that ever-changing world, right? When you become certified, there's also a maintenance period to where you have to maintain your license. The frequency of how they are maintained is varies depending on the program you are in. For example, BCMS, it occurs every 5 years. But because of that ever-changing landscape in medical affairs, every 5 years you have to refresh and complete some CE credits or complete that final exam at the end to maintain your license. I'm interested in a career in pharmacovigilance. What is the certification available to become an expert in this field, which is promoted by ACMA? I suggest the BCMS program that we covered, right? The BCMS program goes into depth in the pharmacovigilance role, the day-to-day activities in pharmacovigilance, and also what resources that you need from other teams. Because oftentimes pharmacovigilance may sit in that medical affairs umbrella, sometimes it's in marketing. Either way, that BCMS program will cover pharmacovigilance. Would having the BCMS certification have a better chance in getting you hired if you have no prior MSL experience? That's a great question, right? We have seen data where for one MSL position or posting, there are over 200 applications, right? So here I would ask you to ask yourself, what do you need to stand out amongst everyone else who looks like you, who has no prior MSL experience? One would be certification, right? Mai mentioned earlier taking that initiative. They want to see that you took that initiative in learning more and becoming an expert in medical affairs or becoming an MSL. One way of doing that is completing a certification, right? The BCMS program.
Can I follow on with that as well? From a recruiting standpoint, you're absolutely right. This is a highly sought after job, and everyone has to start somewhere. Nobody was born as an MSL, right? So somebody is going to, you are always going to have that first step. So using the resume template that I give you, there's a highlight section, and you should definitely put into that highlight section that you took that initiative, that you took that step, and you can put that right. So it's the first thing I see on your resume, and that does absolutely help.
And if I can also add to that too, during the interviews, I mean, there's a dedicated section in the program about MSL. And so again, facilitating your conversation with your interviewers, right? When you do end up getting an interview and demonstrating that not only do you speak the language and know what you want, but you took the initiative.
Thank you. All right, so it looks like we're at time here. So we'll go ahead and close out the webinar. Thank you so much to everyone for participating. Please follow us all on LinkedIn. I see your LinkedIn links. I've been clicking on them throughout the webinar and adding you as well. This webinar will be shared with you at the conclusion of the recording or of the webinar. I would like to thank our speakers again today, Dr. Klingman and Dr. Tao, for joining us and giving their insights and their expertise to our audience today. All right, with that, thank you all. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, great rest of your week, and rest of your year in 2024.
Bye.
See you next time.
Thank you.